Hello friends. Let's dive into the fascinating world of those born under the sign of Gemini, coupled with the mystique of the year of the snake. If you're one of these rare creatures, or know someone who is, then you're in for a deep exploration of what makes these individuals truly unique. These people are a curious blend of quicksilver charm and calculating mystery. Gemini snakes are complex, intelligent, seductive, and strategic. They embody a paradox, the open-mindedness of Gemini mixed with the enigmatic essence of the snake in the Chinese Zodiac. One moment they're dazzling you with witty banter, the next, they're quietly observing, planning their next move like a chess master. Let's break down what makes the Gemini snake a true force in the spheres of love, sex, marriage, friendship, business, shadow traits, and life goals. Love, magnetic, mysterious. In love, the Gemini snake is a compelling paradox, equal parts magnetic and mystifying. They walk into a room and somehow manage to draw eyes without demanding attention. It's not just their outward appearance or stylish flair that captivates, it's their energy, that elusive mix of curiosity and aloofness, of laughter and distance, that makes people lean in. Their flirtation style isn't loud or predictable, it's witty, nuanced, and unexpected. They're conversational alchemists, transforming casual banter into electric exchanges. There's something inherently theatrical about how they flirt, not in a rehearsed way, but as if romance is an improvisation and they were born for the stage. Their sense of timing, their quick retorts, and their subtle but knowing glances leave people guessing, and wanting more. They don't chase love blindly, they orchestrate its rhythm, always remaining just out of reach to keep the game deliciously alive. They treat love not as a fixed goal but as a dynamic dance of minds and emotions. Their idea of romance is cerebral as much as it is emotional. For them, falling in love doesn't begin with a kiss, it starts with a conversation that stretches into the night, weaving through ideas, dreams, memories, and hypothetical futures. Their charm isn't manufactured, it's instinctive. They're natural at reflecting others' light, making each person feel seen, understood, and interesting. But what most people don't realize is that while the Gemini snake appears open and emotionally available, much of what they offer is a curated version of their heart. They guard their most vulnerable parts with silent caution. Love, to them, is both an adventure and a risk, a space where they want to dive in fully but only if they trust the waters won't drown them. Their independence is sacred. They cherish their emotional sovereignty and often struggle with the idea of surrendering it completely, no matter how deep the connection. Beneath their seductive charm lies a soul that has been shaped by caution. Even when they're falling hard, they calculate each emotional step. They may confess their love, but always with a parachute packed, ready to glide out if things start to feel suffocating or unstable. They crave connection, yes, but not at the cost of their identity. They need to feel like their essence is seen and accepted in its full duality, light and shadow, freedom and devotion. Once they cross that invisible line of emotional trust, they become astonishingly loyal, but even then, their loyalty is quiet, often expressed in actions rather than grand declarations. They'll learn your patterns, anticipate your moods, remember the smallest details of your stories, not because they're trying to impress, but because once you're in their heart, they want to hold the whole of you. And yet, the moment a relationship becomes routine or overly possessive, a silent switch flips. They'll begin to detach, not dramatically, but subtly. They'll be harder to read, harder to reach. You'll feel their presence but miss their emotional warmth. That's the dark side of their complexity. If the relationship becomes stale or claustrophobic, the Gemini snake may simply vanish, without explanation, without a final conversation, leaving only echoes behind. Sex, seduction as art. When it comes to intimacy, the Gemini snake treats seduction like a symphony, thoughtful, deliberate, and emotionally textured. For them, sex is never just a physical release, it's a psychological and emotional performance that begins long before any physical touch occurs. They thrive on the thrill of anticipation. A slow glance across a crowded room, a playful double meaning in conversation, or a suggestive text at the perfect time, this is their domain. The art of foreplay isn't a step to them, it's the essence of the experience. They enjoy building tension, fueling desire with layers of verbal and nonverbal communication. It's the dance of minds and energies that excites them most. Every touch is calculated, every kiss choreographed with purpose, and every moment infused with the unspoken promise of something more. They're rarely rushed because they understand that the longer the build-up, the deeper the eventual release. In their world, patience is a form of power, and they wield it with skill. Their approach to sex is not only intuitive but also profoundly responsive. Gemini snakes are masters at reading body language, vocal tones, and even silence. They have an uncanny ability to sense their partner's needs, often before those needs are voiced. This sensitivity allows them to adapt effortlessly, shifting between dominant and receptive energies depending on what the moment requires. They play with dynamics, never sticking to a single pattern, and this unpredictability keeps things alive and thrilling. For them, variety isn't just spice, it's necessity. The bedroom is a canvas, and they're both the artist and the muse, constantly experimenting, exploring, and redefining what pleasure means. Whether they're making love slowly under candlelight or engaging in something far more uninhibited and spontaneous, they bring the same level of attentiveness and creativity. There is always an emotional or symbolic layer to their intimacy, it's rarely mechanical. Every experience has a story, and they want their partner to feel as though they're co-writing it in real time. Despite their playful, sometimes hedonistic nature, Gemini snakes are not indiscriminate. Casual encounters may happen, especially when curiosity is piqued, but they're never fully satisfied by physical chemistry alone. What truly ignites their passion is an intellectual spark. They need to feel intrigued, mentally challenged, or emotionally charged. A witty exchange, an unexpected opinion, a well-placed philosophical question, these are aphrodisiacs to them. When their mind is engaged, their body follows with fire. They are open-minded lovers, unafraid to push boundaries and explore fantasies, but only when trust and mutual respect are present. Emotional shallowness, however, leaves them cold. They crave depth, complexity, and nuance. Their ideal sexual partner is someone who stimulates them on all levels, who can hold their gaze as well as their heart. When that connection is made, sex becomes transformative, not just a moment, but a memory, a world of sensation and intimacy they'll return to in thought long after the night is over. In those rare bonds, their sexuality transcends instinct, it becomes artistry. Marriage, unconventional bonds. Marriage for the Gemini snake is both a tantalizing possibility and a looming contradiction. They are innately drawn to the idea of a deep, lasting connection with someone who truly sees them, someone who understands that their soul is not linear, but layered and ever-shifting. At their core, Gemini snakes long for a partner in crime, a fellow traveler who can join them on life's unpredictable, intellectually rich, emotionally textured journey. They want romance, laughter, inside jokes, shared dreams, and deep conversations at 2 a.m. But there's a catch, their freedom is not optional, it's oxygen. Any bond that begins to feel like a cage will be quietly, and eventually completely, escaped. Even in committed love, they require room to evolve, explore, and express themselves without guilt or limitation. The idea of a conventional, heavily structured marriage can feel suffocating to them. They prefer fluidity over rigidity, stimulation over predictability, and emotional intelligence over possessiveness. If a Gemini snake chooses to marry, it's rarely out of social pressure or simple tradition. It's a deliberate decision, one that involves careful internal negotiation. They are not romantics in the textbook sense, but they are believers in soulful connection. The person they choose to marry will almost certainly be someone who respects their independence, encourages their creative spirit, and engages them in mental sparring matches that leave them both energized. They want a spouse who is more than a lover, someone who is also a confidant, a provocateur, a co-conspirator, and a fellow explorer of life. Emotional safety is crucial, but so is autonomy. They are best suited to partners who have their own passions, friends, and pursuits, people who are secure enough not to view their need for space as rejection. If the marriage allows for mutual growth, constant dialogue, and plenty of new experiences, they can be astonishingly loyal and giving. But the minute things begin to feel like routine or obligation, the spark starts to dim. In a thriving marriage, the Gemini snake is an attentive, creative, and deeply engaging partner. They bring humor, affection, spontaneity, and charm into the relationship. They might surprise their spouse with a spontaneous trip, a perfectly timed gift, or a heartfelt letter out of nowhere, just because they were inspired to express their love in that moment. They love reinventing the marriage over time, always seeking new ways to keep it exciting, alive, and relevant to who both people are becoming. But they also demand a lot from their partners. Emotional immaturity, clinginess, or jealousy are absolute deal-breakers. They don't have patience for drama or manipulation, they prefer clean honesty, even if it's difficult. The best partner for a Gemini snake is someone strong in their own identity, someone who understands that love isn't about merging into one person, but about dancing beside each other, free but aligned. When married to the right person, they become not just committed, but inspired. Their love, once anchored in mutual respect and dynamic connection, has the potential to endure for life, always surprising, always evolving, always uniquely their own. Friendship, loyal yet selective. As friends, Gemini snakes are magnetic, witty, and impossible to forget. They bring an unmatched vibrancy to every social situation. They're the storytellers who keep a room captivated, the quick thinkers who turn tension into laughter, the adventurers who turn ordinary evenings into stories people tell for years. Whether they're hosting spontaneous gatherings, making everyone laugh at dinner, or diving into philosophical midnight conversations, they have an effortless ability to attract people with their layered personality. Part intellect, part charm, part mystery, they leave a lasting impression. People often feel drawn to them, not just because they're entertaining, but because they exude a subtle emotional depth that's intriguing and hard to define. Yet for all their warmth and presence in a crowd, there's a quiet barrier, one that keeps even some of their closest acquaintances slightly outside the inner chamber of their heart. Gemini snakes are natural social connectors. Their curiosity drives them to engage with people from all backgrounds, belief systems, and personalities. They genuinely enjoy learning what makes others tick and thrive on intellectual exchange. They're excellent listeners when they choose to be, and even better conversationalists, able to speak with insight on anything from pop culture to psychology to the weirdest YouTube rabbit hole. They're also adaptable, knowing how to shift their tone, humor, and energy to make people feel comfortable and seen. But while they may have a wide social network, the number of people they allow into their real life, their fears, dreams, insecurities, and raw truths, is extremely limited. They are highly selective about who earns that deeper trust. It's not about elitism, it's about self-preservation. Beneath the confident exterior lies a soul that's more sensitive than they often let on, and they've likely learned the hard way that vulnerability without discernment can be a liability. So while they might know everything about your world, their own secrets are guarded carefully, shared only with those who've proven their loyalty over time and through actions, not words. When a Gemini snake calls you a true friend, it's a badge of honor. Their loyalty is quiet but powerful, showing up in unexpected but deeply meaningful ways. They might not always be available for daily check-ins or lengthy emotional processing sessions, but when it counts, when your world is falling apart, when you need a fresh perspective, when you need someone to help you dream bigger, they are there. They will send you the book you didn't know you needed, drag you out of your comfort zone for a night of pure fun, or give you advice that slices through confusion like a laser. Their love language is often experience and wisdom, not always soft sentiment. And if you betray their trust, belittle their loyalty, or cross a line they've drawn in the sand, they'll vanish without a sound. They're not interested in drama or revenge, they simply disappear, reclaiming their energy and moving forward with clarity. Friendship with a Gemini snake isn't always simple, but it is electric, transformative, and unforgettable for those lucky enough to earn their trust. Business, strategic visionaries. In the business world, Gemini snakes stand out as magnetic forces of innovation, cunning, and adaptability. They are strategic visionaries who blend intuitive depth with intellectual agility. The snake endows them with keen foresight and an instinct for timing and risk, while the Gemini side brings a gift for communication, charm, and spontaneous problem-solving. This makes them uniquely equipped to navigate complex business landscapes, seeing patterns others miss and pivoting with ease when the situation demands it. They're not just idea people, they're idea architects who can build, dismantle, and rebuild systems to suit evolving goals. Their minds are rarely still, they're constantly scanning for opportunity, anticipating market trends, and imagining future possibilities. It's not unusual for them to start a conversation about a business idea and by the end of it, have an entire brand or product line outlined in stunning clarity. Gemini snakes flourish in dynamic, fast-paced environments that feed their curiosity and keep them mentally stimulated. They despise monotony and routine, often becoming restless or disengaged in rigid corporate structures that stifle innovation. Their ideal work environment is one where creativity, adaptability, and autonomy are valued. Startups, creative agencies, tech firms, and entrepreneurial ventures are often where they shine brightest. They are fascinated by industries that are constantly evolving. Technology, media, entertainment, fashion, and finance are just a few examples. In these realms, they can constantly reinvent themselves, experiment with new ideas, and push boundaries without apology. But their success isn't built on luck, it's calculated. Behind their cool, free-flowing exterior is a deeply strategic thinker who knows when to take risks, when to retreat, and how to build influence over time. They are idea machines, yes, but also long-game players who rarely show all their cards at once. Their ability to read people, situations, and unspoken dynamics gives them a significant edge in business. Gemini snakes are natural negotiators and master persuaders. They can tailor their pitch or presentation to any audience, sensing what will resonate most and delivering it with style and intelligence. They're often the ones who close deals, charm investors, or win over skeptical clients with just the right blend of confidence and humility. Networking is more than a strategy for them, it's an art form. They can walk into any room and instantly assess who holds power, who's worth aligning with, and who's simply making noise. Many Gemini snakes juggle multiple projects or side hustles, launching brands, investing in trends before they explode, or freelancing across industries. They're always thinking 5 steps ahead, their minds buzzing with possibilities, collaborations, and what-if scenarios. However, this can also be their Achilles heel. Their ambition and endless curiosity sometimes scatter their focus, leading to burnout or half-finished ventures if not managed with intention. The greatest business challenge for the Gemini snake is learning how to channel their energy into focused, sustainable efforts. Because they are so intellectually agile and multi-talented, they can fall into the trap of overcommitting or jumping ship before something fully takes root. They might chase excitement over stability, or novelty over depth. But when they find a mission that truly ignites both their mind and spirit, something that speaks to their deeper values and allows them to express both their brilliance and independence, they become unstoppable. With the right structure around them and a clear sense of purpose, Gemini snakes can build empires that are as innovative as they are influential. They don't just follow trends, they set them. They don't just chase success, they redefine what it looks like. Dark sides, the shadow within. Behind the Gemini snake's dazzling charm and mental agility lies a complex and often shadowy psychological terrain. These individuals possess incredible depth, but with that depth comes a web of contradictions, defenses, and tendencies that can make them difficult to fully understand, even for those closest to them. While they are often admired for their intelligence, wit, and seductive charisma, they are also prone to darker impulses that can sabotage relationships, derail careers, or create emotional isolation. The Gemini snake's dual nature makes them masters of appearances. They can smile while seething inside, flatter while hiding contempt, and vanish just when someone thinks they're getting close. These are not simple people. Their darkness isn't always visible, but it's there, lurking beneath the surface, like a quiet current waiting to pull them under when they least expect it. One of their most notable shadow traits is emotional detachment masquerading as charm. They can come across as warm and attentive, but it often serves as a protective mechanism. Vulnerability terrifies them. Letting others in too deeply feels like handing over control, and control is something the snake in them fights to keep. As a result, they may keep people at arm's length emotionally, offering intimacy on a surface level but retreating when things get too real. This can leave their partners, friends, or colleagues feeling confused, frustrated, or abandoned. Gemini snakes are experts at disappearing, physically, emotionally, and energetically, when they feel threatened, bored, or exposed. They may ghost without explanation, withdraw into themselves, or redirect attention elsewhere, all while pretending nothing is wrong. Manipulation is another potential shadow behavior. With their sharp minds and uncanny ability to read others, Gemini snakes can use their insights not just to connect, but to control. If they feel insecure or backed into a corner, they may subtly manipulate situations or people to serve their interests. This might not always be malicious, they often justify it as being clever or strategic, but the result can still leave others feeling used or misled. Their tendency to play both sides, keep secrets, or twist truths can be especially damaging in both personal and professional contexts. If unchecked, this behavior can spiral into deception, where the line between reality and performance becomes dangerously blurred. They may convince others, and themselves, that everything is fine while quietly orchestrating an exit, a backup plan, or even revenge. Trust is both a need and a weakness for the Gemini snake. Deep down, they crave authenticity and loyal connection, but their fear of betrayal makes them hypervigilant and hard to pin down. They may test people, push boundaries, or set emotional traps to see who's really worthy of their trust. But in doing so, they often create the very drama or instability they were trying to avoid. Their perfectionism and tendency to overanalyze can also be paralyzing. They're not easily satisfied, with themselves or others. They may become their own harshest critic, spiraling into periods of doubt, anxiety, or self-sabotage. At their worst, they may swing between arrogance and insecurity, trying to prove their worth while quietly fearing they'll never be truly understood. In conflict, they can be cutting, passive-aggressive, or eerily calm, choosing words that sting with surgical precision. Rather than confront issues head-on, they may use avoidance, sarcasm, or intellectual superiority to shut down conversations. It's not that they don't feel deeply, they do. But processing those feelings in a healthy way is not always natural to them. If emotionally wounded, a Gemini snake might not lash out immediately. Instead, they may retreat, brood, and strike back only when the moment is most unexpected. They often carry grudges longer than they admit and may seek revenge in subtle, calculated ways that leave others bewildered. Their darkness isn't about evil intent, it's about self-protection. Many of their shadow traits arise from a deep-seated need to control their environment, avoid pain, and maintain a sense of autonomy in a world that often feels chaotic. But without conscious effort and self-awareness, these traits can isolate them from the very intimacy and trust they crave most. When they learn to face their fears instead of intellectualizing them, when they choose truth over performance, and vulnerability over control, they begin to integrate their shadow into something far more powerful, emotional wisdom. Until then, their brilliance remains clouded by the very darkness they try so hard to conceal. Life goals, the inner compass. For the Gemini snake, life is not a linear journey, it's a maze of discovery, reinvention, and calculated ambition. While some signs pursue singular goals with unwavering focus, the Gemini snake's path is winding, multidimensional, and shaped by constant mental stimulation and inner transformation. Their goals are rarely static. What fascinates them today may bore them tomorrow unless it evolves. That's because they aren't chasing just outcomes, they're chasing growth, mastery, and meaning. Their ambitions stretch across intellect, influence, freedom, and self-definition. Driven by the dual forces of Gemini's curiosity and the snake's depth, they are here not simply to live, but to understand life from every angle. And then, if possible, to win at it. Their core motivation is freedom, not just physical or financial, but intellectual and emotional freedom. They want to live life on their own terms, unbound by conventional rules or expectations. They often dream of careers that offer autonomy, flexibility, and the ability to express their many talents. Entrepreneurship appeals to them not just for the control it offers, but because it allows them to shape-shift, innovate, and avoid stagnation. Travel, learning, and new experiences often top their life list. They seek constant evolution, of their mind, their lifestyle, their surroundings. They need goals that allow them to stretch across disciplines, cultures, and dimensions of thought. If they feel confined, even by their own prior choices, they'll find a way to pivot, gracefully or abruptly. But behind their shape-shifting lies a desire for mastery. Gemini snakes are not content with shallow victories. They want to know, to understand things deeply, whether it's the inner workings of a business, the psychology of human behavior, or the complexities of philosophy, art, or strategy. Many are drawn to projects or careers that allow them to blend intellect and intuition, strategy and style. They may seek recognition, not necessarily through fame, but through respect. They want to be known as experts, thought leaders, or visionaries. And when they lock onto something they truly care about, they can become obsessive in pursuit of it, studying, refining, and elevating their skills until they are undeniable. However, the challenge for Gemini snakes lies in discipline and consistency. With so many passions and mental tabs open at once, it's easy for them to spread themselves thin. One day they're dreaming about launching a tech startup, the next, they're plotting an escape to write a novel in Bali. Their challenge isn't lack of talent or ambition, it's harnessing their mental energy and sustaining it over the long haul. They may battle internal voices of doubt or restlessness, fearing that settling down on one path means sacrificing the infinite possibilities they hold dear. But the truth is, when they do focus, when they fully commit, they become almost unstoppable. Emotionally, one of their life goals is to find authenticity, both in themselves and their relationships. They often feel pulled between performance and reality, between what they project and what they truly feel. Their journey involves integrating those layers, learning to trust others with their truth, and allowing themselves to be seen, flaws and all. As they mature, their goals shift from external validation to internal peace. They begin to understand that success means nothing without emotional fulfillment, and that relationships aren't obstacles to freedom, they can be catalysts for growth, if chosen wisely. Ultimately, the Gemini snake's purpose is to live life intelligently, creatively, and authentically. They are meant to explore what it means to be fully human, mind, body, and soul. To master both logic and intuition. To be both students and teachers, wanderers and strategists, lovers and lone wolves. They are wired for evolution, and their deepest goal is not a destination, it's to become their highest, truest self through the many layers of change life demands. When they align their ambition with self-awareness, their legacy becomes not just what they do, but who they dare to become. Final thoughts. To truly know a Gemini snake is to step into a world of elegant contradiction. They are the embodiment of complexity, at once lively and contemplative, emotionally elusive yet surprisingly loyal, impossible to pin down but unforgettable to encounter. They live at the intersection of air and earth, of mental agility and emotional intensity. One moment, they're lighting up a room with laughter and charm, the next, they've vanished into a private world where no one else is allowed. And yet, in every version of themselves, they are real. What seems like contradiction is often a deeper consistency, the desire to be free, to be understood, and to experience life without dilution. A Gemini snake doesn't just pass through your life, they leave fingerprints on your memory. They are unpredictable, but never random. Their spontaneity is often rooted in purpose, their wit sharpened by intelligence, and their silence laced with meaning. To love a Gemini snake, to befriend one, or to work alongside one, is to accept a beautiful challenge, to keep up with their ever-shifting rhythms without trying to control them. They aren't meant to fit into molds. They are meant to stretch them, break them, and reimagine them into something uniquely their own. The Gemini snake is a living paradox, a strategist with a poet's soul, a romantic wrapped in layers of logic, a rebel with a surprisingly loyal heart. If you are a Gemini born in the year of the snake, then you are a fusion of mental brilliance and emotional depth, intuition and innovation, sensuality and subtlety. You were not designed to walk a straight path, you were built to carve your own. Embrace your dual nature, not as a flaw, but as your ultimate power. You have the rare ability to connect with people on multiple levels while remaining grounded in your own truth. Use your gift of language to inspire, your insight to lead, and your mystery to enchant. You are not just capable of reinvention, you thrive on it. What others see as contradiction, you know to be your compass. Because you, dear Gemini snake, are not just another character in the crowd, you are the plot twist. You are the secret passage in a well-lit room, the unexpected pause in a predictable rhythm. You are a puzzle that keeps solving itself in new and dazzling ways. And that is your magic. You don't need to be understood by everyone, you only need to be recognized by those attuned to your frequency. Because you are, without question, a mystery worth solving, and a story that deserves to be told with wonder, respect, and awe.